Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Bermuda race fans. This is Dobbs Davis. I'm giving you the Saturday evening report from the Newport Bermuda race. I'll tell you what, folks, this one is going to go down in history as just going to be one of the most fast, exciting races that we've ever had. For those enjoying the weather here in the east coast of the U.S., it is phenomenal. We've got this beautiful high-pressure system. It's cool, it's dry. I mean, those of us here on shore are just enjoying the weekend. But I got to tell you, as sailors, we'd rather be out there with the teams. I mean, look at this grid. It is just amazing. The wind is perfectly out of the right direction for reaching conditions, high-speed sailing. It's got to be just sunny and beautiful out there. I want to segue over to a report from the Griffin Solo team and my friend Joe Harris. He's been out here on his Acalaria 40 doing the double-handed division. He says this great story. I have to share it with you. It's been a busy 18 hours since my last message. We've been cranking down the race course at top speed with strong northeasterly wind behind us. We're now about halfway through the Gulf Stream with wind speed in the mid-20s and boat speeds in the mid-teens. Now, what another interesting part of today that those of you who are following probably already know is that the race tracker has been turned to real time. There's no longer a delay on this. This is just a phenomenal choice by the race organizers, and I really applaud them for this. There's no tactical advantage by anyone right now in having information that everybody can't see, which is strong northeast wind, everybody going down the run line. This is just a drag race to the finish. There's no funny eddies, there's no funny wind patterns. I mean, everybody's going for it. So the organizers, to their great credit, have turned that delay off. It's going to allow us to follow this in real time. But I just wanted to come back to Joe Harris's story. I just have to find him in the classes here. But I think it's class 15. Yeah, there we are. So we'll zoom in on this. Joe Harris has been in the class 40. He's been a great enthusiast for a long time. And of course, what happens is you zoom in and you lose them because the boats are going so fast right now. They are really exceeding expectations to go down the track. But here's Joe. He's on his Acalaria. Now he's down doing 13.3 knots on a course of 147. He's got 300 miles to finish. But this was written a couple hours ago. He says, we're now about halfway through the Gulf Stream with wind speed in the mid-20s, boat speed in the mid-teens, and touching a high of 22 knots. Been pushing hard. The boat has been responding well. These are perfect GS2 power reaching conditions. That's their Gennaker, their asymmetric number 2 spinnaker. So water's everywhere and it's impossible to stay dry. Everything was going very well until we pushed the envelope a little too far and got in trouble. We were in winds of 20 to 30 knots, but still had our A6 fractional spinnaker up and were making unbelievable speeds. We were sitting on 18 knots, surging into the mid-20s in big surfs. However, one puff was too strong, and the boat rounded up and then accidentally jibed, leaving us full of water ballast on the wrong side and a complete mess. The A6 spinnaker was up, thrashed on the rig, into a big tear, and the A2 spinnaker, which was in its bag, lashed on the deck, filled with water, went overboard. We watched helplessly as it floated astern. Not good. We then had to carefully release the running backstay to allow the mainsail to come through and get the new runner on so we didn't lose the rig. The boat was at a crazy heel angle as we wallowed around trying to get things straightened out. We then had to get the torn spinnaker down using the sock, which proved to be quite a chore in 30 knots of wind. Listen, folks, these are two guys on a boat, 40 feet, going like hell in 6 to 10 foot waves. We finally got the boat sorted out and back on proper course, but we're both completely soaked and exhausted, so we took turns going below to get dry clothes and get some water. We're now licking our wounds and wishing we'd not been so aggressive. We should have taken the spinnaker down when the wind speed reached 25 knots, but we got greedy for speed. Expensive mistake. We now have another 400 miles to go, down 2 spinnakers, but hopefully we won't need them. We're still hauling ass. Boat speeds averaging 15 knots with a main and the Solent. The Solent is the small jib in the front. So hopefully our little fiasco won't stop us from a good showing. We seem to be passing larger boats regularly, so that has to be a good sign. I hope you're all watching the action on the race tracker and that you're having a lovely Saturday on dry land. I mean, this is the virtue of Joe Harris. He's really great at communicating the stuff from out there on the race course and just really tells it like it is. But good for Joe. Here in Class 15 in the double-handeds, look at this. He is ahead of everybody. Since this report, which was done a few hours ago, he's chomped off 100 miles. He now only has 300 miles to finish and is still ahead of his class. So phenomenal sailing conditions out there. It's really amazing. Let's go to the overall. Let's see. The real story here is the course record and what is going on with these guys who are out in the front. And so zooming in now, who do we have? We've got Rambler. Rambler here. 90-foot boat owned by George David, designed by Reichel Pugh. I just got off the phone with Jim Pugh in San Diego. He said, "How are things going?" I said, "Well, Jim, I think another Reichel Pugh boat could be shattering the record here." These guys are going 13.2 knots. They've got 145 miles to the finish. It doesn't take a lot of advanced math to see that Pyewacket's record from 2002 is very much in jeopardy. This boat, which is very interesting, I got to tell you, this is not a new design. It's 2004, 2005 or so. This boat has the record for the Middle Sea race, which is another similar race in the Med around. It starts in Malta, goes around Sicily, and finishes in Malta. It's about the same length as a Bermuda race. 650 miles, I believe. And this boat actually also had the Juralia Rock race record, which is a race from Saint-Tropez around a rock off of Italy and then back up to the Italian coast. That race record was actually just shattered yesterday by another Reichel Pugh design that was 10 feet longer. So this is a proven and very capable boat, a very capable team. They now enjoy, 145 to go to the finish. They have 21-mile lead on Shockwave, which is another Reichel Pugh design. This one a little bit smaller, 72 feet. What actually is interesting is watching Bellamente. This is a brand new 72-foot Udall Vrolik design. This boat was doing very well. They were actually ahead of Shockwave earlier today and were uptight against Rambler. Now, one of the things I'm looking at here amongst them, and actually this boat here, Team Tiburon, which is Mark Watson's boat with a Bermuda-based team. This is a Reichel Pugh 74. They are 183 miles to finish, very much in touch with the leaders here. Notice how they're sagging a little high of the run line. Their track has, as you can see, crossed a little bit higher. So the real news there is the wind. Look at the wind. It's down to 11 knots. Out of the east or just to the north of the east. So these changing conditions are going to start to come into play, but these boats are still going very, very fast. One other thing I wanted to say in tonight's show is to apologize for this morning's show when I got the Oak Cliff Sailing team wrong in my broadcast. I said that was the Care 50. It turns out it was the double-handed Care 11.3, the smaller boat that was in the double-handed division. Those guys broke their rudder, but I'm told now are safely on their way, if not already arrived in Block Island, so they're in good shape. Let's see, big picture. The overall forecast, as we can see when we kind of zoom out here and look at these arrows here in the grid files, we can see the wind starting to diminish a bit. Now, it's further to the north and strong for the guys that are back up in this part of the run line, the middle of the pack. The guys still in the Gulf Stream, they're still going fast. They've got strong northeast breezes, but the leaders are starting to slow down, and they're going to start to run into a little bit of light air. Now, this is going to happen generally for the whole fleet as they get further south, and as we get into tomorrow and Sunday, the whole pace of things is going to start to slow. But make no mistake, this is going to be a big boat race. All the leaders in their respective divisions. In fact, let's look at the St. David's Lighthouse division. Who's out in front here? And it is Kodiak. This is another Reichel Pugh design, 65 feet. These guys are going 10.8 knots. Now, that's a lot slower than the 15s and 16s that we saw earlier today, but with only 210 miles to go to the finish, they're in very good shape. Are they within record-breaking pace? Maybe just on the edge. It'll just depend on how slow things get tonight. So that's the real story here. But I think everybody's really enjoying great sailing. Everybody out in the pack here are doing a tremendous job. And I'm hoping that after a little bit of reflection overnight and looking at these real-time tracking results, We can look at the corrected time stats for where everybody is. Again, I don't think it's any. It's going to be any surprise that the big boats in each of these classes are going to tend to be the race winners. But anything can happen. Tomorrow is going to be a critical day, so I invite you to join me again for tomorrow morning's show. I think we're going to be online about 8 o'clock, and I wish everybody a great evening.